Okay, let's start today's lecture. In the last lecture, I have assigned practice problem 13.2. In this problem, we have a magnetically coupled circuit, and this is the phasor representation of the circuit. And we have to find the phasor currents I1 and I2 in the circuit. So for this, we know that the current I1 enters the dot, right? And so the polarity of this J3 ohm resistance is in fact is positive at the dot. So it is positive and negative. So that's the reason the polarity in the first circuit is plus J3 I2. Because the reason also is that I2 enters the dot and the polarity of J3 ohm is also positive in the mesh 1. So this is plus J32 and here J3 I2, and also the mutual inductance of this is calculated by the opposing series connections of J2 ohm and J6 ohm. So the value of this series opposing connection is L1 plus L2 minus 2M. So the value is J2 plus J6 minus J3 into 2. So it's minus 2M. So these are the mutual voltages due to this mutual inductance J3 ohm. So we solve the equation for mesh 1, and in mesh 2 we have also plus J3 I1 because of the same reason, dot positive dot enter formula. So we have this relationship, and from the mesh 2 we find the value of I2, which is 1.5 I1, and we substitute this value in equation 1, so we will get the value of I1 from this relationship, and this value is 2.147 at the given phase, at this phase. So 1.5 times of this I1 is 3.23 at the same phase. So in this way, we calculate the value of phasor mesh currents I1 and I2. Now, today we start the new topic, energy in a coupled circuit. And for this, we know the energy stored by an inductor. So we already learned that the energy stored by inductor can be calculated by this formula, that 1 by 2 Li square. And I is time varying in nature. So we take the square of this current. We can assume the initial value of the current is 0, and we have known that the phase of the current is known. So we can calculate the energy for a given phase for this inductor. So first, we assume that there are two coils L1 and L2 which are in close proximity, having the current I1 and I2 entering the dot points, and the polarity of the voltage V1 and V2 is positive at the dot side. So the first we assume that the I1 current is increasing from 0 to capital I1 and I2 current is 0. So for this, the power calculated due to the coil 1 and this current I1 is VI uh, is equal to ILDI by dt. And I is V is here is LDI by dt, and the value of current is same, right? So for the energy, we integrate the power for the value of current. So for the value of current 0 to capital I1, so we integrate this value of I1. So this value of I1 is in fact is 1 by 2 Li square. So that's the simple way to calculate the energy stored in the circuit by the inductor L1. Now there is because of the current I1, there is the mutual inductance in the second coil, and we have also power in the second coil because of this current I1. So this power is in fact is I1 M12 dI2 by dt, or we can assume that the value of this I1 is constant now, and the value of this I1 is fixed, which is I1, and we have the value I1 M12 dI2 by dt. So this is in fact is due to the value of the power calculated because of this mutual inductance in coil due to coil 1. Also, we know that the current, if in the second coil is increased from I2, I2, 0 to I2, so the value of this is I2 L2 dI2 by dt. And now we calculate the energy stored. So the energy stored is M12 I1 I2 1 by 2 L2 I2 square. So the energy stored by coil 1 and the energy stored by coil 2 is sum up to give this value. So this is half L1 I1 square plus half L2 I2 square plus M12 I1 I2, right? So the only thing which is which we did here is this is omega 2, which we calculated due to the mutual inductance and due to the coil 2 current, and this is the energy which we have calculated because of the current in coil 1. So we sum up the energy of these two coils and we will get this value of total energy in the two coils. So similarly, if we reverse the order of reverse the order that we calculate the energy due to the mutual inductance of the second coil, so the energy will be given by this relationship, that the value of mutual inductance of second coil is M21, and by equating the two energies, we will get the value of M12, M21 is equal to M. So simply we write the total energy as MI1, I2. So this is the relationship to calculate the energy of the energy stored by the two coils in close proximity, that we taken account the self-inductance of the two coils and the mutual inductance of the two coils. So we are seeing that this value of Mi1 and I2 is in fact may have any polarity, and it depends upon the dot convention. So depending on the dot convention, the mutual inductance value will be positive or negative. So we can say that this value will be plus or minus. Now we can see that the energy can never be a negative quantity. Energy is always a positive quantity. So we know that the value of this energy must be greater than 0. So if we assume that this value is greater than 0, so we take this quantity greater than equal to 0. Now we add I1, I2 into the L1, L2 under root and subtract the same quantity from this relationship. So after adding and subtracting, we get the square of this term, and we get the value of this term by taking I1, I2 common from the positive part of this term. So now it has two parts. So this two part, we want to know that if the whole quantity cannot be negative, so it means that this part, which is the square, also cannot be negative. The entire quantity cannot be negative, and this square of the term also cannot be negative. So we can say that this term, the second term, must be greater than equal to 0. Or we can simplify this relationship that M and L1, L2 under root subtraction must be greater than equal to 0, or the value of mutual inductance is the geometric mean of the self-inductance of the two coils which are in close proximity. So that relationship is very important. So what about the factor if the ratio of M mutual inductance divided by the geometric mean of the self-inductance of the two coils? So that is an important factor, which is called the coupling coefficients, because mutual inductance depends that how better the two coils are coupled. So if the two coils are coupled better, so the value of M is higher, and the value of M is at the maximum, cannot increase, as we have seen here, cannot increase by a quantity. So at the maximum, it is equal to the geometric mean of the self-inductance of the two coils, right? So this is the upper limit for the mutual inductance. So the value of mutual inductance is depends on the coupling coefficient, that how closely these two coils are coupled. So the value of M divided by this maximum quantity will give the value of coupling coefficient. So the value of this K is in fact is range from 0 to 1, and the value of mutual inductance is range between 0 to L1, L2 under root. Also, we can write this relationship of mutual inductance if we know the value of coupling coefficient. So it is between 0 and 1. So we can calculate the value of mutual inductance. So it is K times the geometric mean of the self-inductance of the two coils, right? So we can also find the value of K by the amount of flux related from coil 1 to 2 and the total flux of the coil 1. So this is in fact this ratio is also defines the value of coupling coefficient. So we can have the value of the two coils which are coupled together is in fact is sort of loosely coupled coil in this way when they are not overlapping. So the flux of one is relating to the flux of other. So this is in fact is air or freight core, and this center of the core is empty to allow the flux to pass from it. So this coupling coefficient would be 0 and 1. So if it is tightly coupled, so its value is greater than 0.5, and if it is loosely coupled, its value is less than 0.5. For perfect coupling, its value is 1. So we can take the value for loosely coupled less than 0.5, less than 0.5, and for tightly coupled, we take its value greater than 0.5. Now we look into an example. So in this example, we have a circuit given. We have to determine the value of coupling coefficient, and we also need to find the energy stored in the coupled inductors at this given time when the applied voltage is known. So that's a very simple problem. So we first of all we know the value of mutual inductance, and we know the value of inductance of the two coils. So from the value of mutual inductance and the self-inductance of the two coils, we find the value of coupling coefficient, and this coupling coefficient is greater than 0.5, so it means that they are tightly coupled. Now the value of omega in this circuit is 4 because it is omega t and omega is equal to 4 here. So we take the value of omega is equal to 4 radian per second. So with this value of omega, we transform the circuit in the phasor representation and we try to find the value of I1 and I2 first. For this value of I1 and I2, we know that for the mesh 1, we have the value of I2 enters the dot. So the polarity is positive, negative. So this is plus J10 I2. That is plus J10 I2. So we have this equation and we also write the equation 2. And in this, we also have dot enter dot positive rule. And the value of this is J10 I1. After simplifying this, we get the value of I1 is minus 1.2 I2. And we substitute this value in equation 1 and we will get the value of I2. And this value of I2 is given here. And this I2 is minus 1.2 times I2. So we will find the value of I1 here. So now we represent I2 and I1 in time domain form. So after writing it in time domain, we know that we have to find the value of energy at time is equal to 1 second. So 4t, omega is 4. So 4t is equal to 4 radians and 4 radians when converted into degrees is 229.2 degrees. So we have the value of I1 is minus 3.389 ampere and the value of I2 is 2.824 ampere. Now with this two values of I1 and I2 and the L1, L2 and M is known, so we will find the value of omega. So why this value is positive? Because the dot enter dot positive rule, we have this value is positive. So we calculate the total energy of the two inductors which are coupled together. So that is 20.73 joule. So now we start today's lecture. In today's lecture, we have to learn about linear transformers, ideal transformers, and ideal auto transformers. So we introduce transformer as a new circuit element. So transformer is a magnetic device that takes the advantage of the phenomena of mutual inductance. So we see the circuit in which two inductors are coupled and their mutual inductance is M. So this circuit has two parts. One is the primary circuit, which is connected to the coil 1, which is called the primary coil. And the second circuit is connected to the secondary coil, and that is the secondary circuit. So in this, we have the voltage source which we want to uh, produce the potential which is higher across the load or lower across the load. So we want this voltage to be higher or lower than the load, and we need the turn ratio of the coil. So we will study in this lecture that how the turn ratio associated with the voltage and the two currents of the circuits. Also, we know that these two coils have some losses. So the losses of the coil are represented by a resistance R1, and the losses of the coil 2 are represented by resistance R2. So these losses represents the uh, energy dissipated across the coil. That is usually not considered or considered negligible. So just like the other electronic circuits or electrical circuits, so it has the two ports for the input voltage and two ports for the output voltage. So the transformer is also a four-terminal device in which we have the primary circuit and the secondary circuit. And these two circuits are coupled by the two coils in close proximity. So there is in fact the impedance of this second network, and we have the impedance of this primary network. So these two impedances must be matched. So we want the impedance of the primary network must be matched to the secondary network so that we can transfer maximum energy to the load. So if there is a mismatch between the impedance of the two networks, so the maximum energy cannot be transformed to the network. So this we have learned in the maximum power transfer theorem, that if the impedance is mismatched, so the maximum power cannot be transferred to the load. So for this, we calculate the reflected impedance of the network. So the reflected impedance of the network is in fact is the input impedance of the network, the impedance of the network 1 plus the reflected impedance is the total impedance which this primary network faces. So for this, we can see that this is the input impedance of the network. So input impedance of the network is which the primary network faces, or we can split it into the two parts. So one part is in fact is the impedance of the primary network plus the reflected impedance of the secondary network. So how can we show this? So first we apply the KVL on mesh 1 and we apply KVL on mesh 2. And from this we will get the value of V is equal to R1 j omega L1 I1 is equal to minus j omega M I2. And also we apply KVL and find the value of this. So from this second equation, we will find the value of I2. So this value of I2 can be determined in terms of I1. So it is j omega I1 divided by this total impedance of the second network, right? So we substitute the value of this I2 from second equation into the first equation, and we will get the value of the input impedance, which is R1 j omega L1 and omega square M square is equal to R2 plus j omega L2 plus DL. And this part is in fact is the reflected impedance of the second network. So this is in fact is the reflected impedance of the second network. So we can say that is the reflected impedance of the second network, and we write it in this form. So now we have to calculate the input impedance and the current I1 in this circuit when we have the value of V1, V2, and VL are known. So these three values of impedances are known in the circuit. So how can we proceed? So it's very simple that we apply the Z in formula. So this Z in formula is V1 plus j omega L1, which is J20, plus 5 square J40 plus D2 plus DL. And substituting the value of V1, 60 minus J100, and solving it, we will get the value of DL. Now we are now we know the voltage applied and the input impedance of the network. So this I1 when divided by Z in, we will get the value of I1. So in this way, we have calculated the input impedance of the network and the I1 current of the network. Now, we have seen the mutually coupled circuits, and in mutually coupled circuits, we always have a problem to solve the value of mutual inductance first. So how can we can resolve this problem with a simple T network? A simple T circuit in which we have LA, LV, and LC can replace these L1, L2, and M in such a way that the LA is equal to L1 plus M and LV is equal to L2 minus M and LC is equal to M. So LA is equal to L1 minus M, L2 minus M is equal to LB, and LC is equal to M. So in this way, we can transform a mutually coupled circuit into an equivalent T circuit. So this is helpful to solve the problem of a transformer circuit. So the transformer circuit can be replaced by a T circuit with this simple relationship. So how to solve the dot problem? So if the dots are in same direction, so we have the value of m is positive. But if the dots are in opposite direction, then we have the value of m is equal to minus m. So we have L1 plus m, L2 plus m, and minus m for the value of dots in the opposite direction. But that rule is applied for a transformer circuit. Now we have to find the T equivalent circuit of the linear transformer. So for this linear transformer, what we do first, we replace the quantities into the corresponding T circuit such that we have the value of dots are in the same direction and both currents are entering into the circuit. So we take the value of m is equal to 2. So that value of L1, L2 and m helps to calculate the value of LA, LB and LC, and we can replace it in this circuit. So we can also see here that in case of the value of currents, if not entering or the polarities of the voltages are changed, so the value of M will be reversed. So we see we have to find the value of I1, I2 and V out in this circuit when we have the dots in the opposite direction. So we first calculate the T equivalent circuit and then we solve this problem. So the T equivalent circuit of this problem is this current I1 is entering the dot and this I2 current is leaving the dot. And because of this, we have the value of M is negative. So if we have the value of this M is negative, so we have the value of LA, LV and LC is calculated with minus M, and we have LC is equal to minus M. And we have get the corresponding value of LA, LV and LC, and we will mention it on the network. Now we have a very simple equivalent circuit. For this, we need to apply mesh analysis and we calculate the value of I1 and I2. And after calculating I1 and I2, so we calculate the value of V out by just putting minus 10 I2 in the circuit. So that is very simple. So this simple circuit is not required any explanation because you can solve it quickly with the previous knowledge you have learned in the lectures. Now we talk about the ideal transformer. So ideal transform is a unity coupled transformers. What I want to say is unity coupled transformer means the turn ratio N1 is equal to the turn ratio N2. And the lossless transformer, there is no losses in this transformer. So the value of R1 and R2 is equal to 0. And the value of inductance in the coil, so the value of inductance of the three coils L1, L2, and the mutual inductance, all these reactances are infinite. So iron core transformers are the close approximation of this ideal transformer. So such transformers are usually termed as unity transformers and used in power system and electronics. So for this, we calculate the voltage V1 and V2, and we know that the voltage of the primary coil is N1 d phi by dt, and V2 is equal to N2 d phi by dt. And the ratio of these two voltages, V2 by V1, is N2 by N1. And that is in fact is called the turn ratio of the transformer. So we can also represent this in the phasor form as well. In the phasor form, we have the value of the phase voltage V2 by V1 is equal to N2 by N1 and is N. So that means if we increase the turn ratio of one side, so the voltages will be increased. So it means that if there are more turns at the secondary side, so there is more voltage at the secondary side, and if there is more turns at the primary side, so there is more voltages at the primary side. So keeping this in mind, we will we will have a step-up transformer and a step-down transformer. So the step-up transformer has a higher voltage in the secondary coil compared to the voltages in the primary coil, and the value of turn ratio would be greater than 1 because N2 is higher to keep the value of V2 higher, and that is the step-up transformer. So a step-up transformer is one whose secondary voltage is greater than its primary voltage. So also for a step-down transformer, this secondary windings are lower or less in numbers compared to the primary turn of the coil. So that voltage is also V2 less than V1, and the value of turn ratio is less than 1. So the ratings of transformers are given by V1 by V2. It's not like we have the turn ratio N2 by N1 is equal to V2 by V1. So the transformer rating is V1 by V2. So a transformer with a rating of 2400/120 volt should have 2400 volt on the primary and 120 in the secondary, and this is the step down transformer. So that is in fact is the voltage rating, and that is in RMS. Now we can associate the power. So because the power is power conservation rule, energy supplied to the primary coil must be equal to the energy absorbed by the secondary coil. So whether it is a step-up transformer or it is a step-down transformer, so the rating, the power rating uh, or the power consumption and power absorption at both sides must be same. So it means the relationship of voltage with the turn ratio is inversely proportional to the current ratio. So it means if the voltage at the secondary side is higher, so the current at the secondary side is low. So if the voltage at the uh, primary side is lower, so the current at the secondary side is current at the secondary side is sorry, let me tell it again. The secondary side voltage is higher, so the current is lower. So the primary side voltage is lower, so the value of current is higher. So that is the relationship with the power and the current in a in an inverse manner. So V2 by V1 is equal to N, and I2 by I1 is equal to 1 by N. But there is the turn ratio can be negative. That's for no surprise, because that depends on the dot convention. That depends on the dot conventions. So what is the convention for the dot and the negative turn ratio? V1 and V2 are both positive or both negative at the dotted terminal. We use plus n. So here at both dots, V1 and V2 are positive. So we have a positive turn ratio. So that's the case for the voltage, right? So also here for both dots, the V1 and V2 are positive. So that is positive. And if it's not the case, the polarity at the dot is positive negative. So polarity at dots is positive negative. So polarity at dots is positive negative. So the turn ratio is minus n. Turn ratio is minus n. And what about I1 and I2? If I1 and I2 both enter into or both leave the dotted terminal, so its value is minus n. So I2, I1, I1 and I2 both are entering the dots. Value is minus n. So here the value of this I1 is entering the dot and it is also entering the dot. So the value of n is minus n. But if they are leaving and entering, so the value is plus n. So it is entering, it is leaving, so the value is plus n, right? So similarly, if it is leaving and it is entering, so its value is plus n. So there are 4 into 4, 16 possibilities for the turn ratio of V2, V1 and I2, I1. So we need to keep this dot convention in mind when we are calculating the voltage at the secondary side and find the value of the current at the secondary side. So if we have the complex power in primary winding, that is equal to V1 I1 conjugate. So V1 is equal to V2 by N and I1 is equal to N I2 conjugate. So this N cancels N and that is equal to V2 I2 conjugate ST. So it means the complex power S1 of the primary side is equal to the complex power we have in the secondary side. Now we have the ideal transformer with this rating 2400 by 120 volt. It means that V1 is 2400, V2 is 120 volt. So the rating is 9.6 kVA. So it means that is the rating of the transformer. So rating will not be changed both for primary and secondary side. And the secondary side turn ratio is 50 given. So there are 50 turns on the secondary side, but we have to calculate the turn ratio, number of turns on the primary side, and current rating for primary and secondary winding. So that's very simple. So for this, we know that the value of turn ratio is equal to V2 by V1. So 120 by 2400 is in fact is the turn ratio, and we know the value of turns at the secondary side. So we will take this as N2 is equal to 50 and the value of N1 is equal to 1000 tons. So if we have the turn ratio of 0.05 and we have 50 turns on the secondary side. So we have the turn ratio at the primary side is equal to 1000. So the power rating at primary and secondary side is 9.6 kVA. So this is in fact is equal to 9600 kVA is equal to I1 V1. So we divide it by V1. So I1 is 4 ampere. So either we calculate V2 I2 9.6 kVA, we substitute the value of V2 here to find the value of I2, or we use the turn ratio to calculate the value of this I2. So first we use the V2 to calculate its value, which is 80 ampere, because the voltage at the secondary side is 120 volts. Now we use the turn ratio. So we use the current I1 is 4 ampere. So that is 0.05, that is equal to 80 ampere. So this is all about today's lecture. and we will learn more about transformers tomorrow. And
सर
so
मेरा एक क्वेश्चन था।